This is the Black Cat Roundabout in Bedfordshire. It sits at a point where the A1 and the A421 meet, and since its installation it's been nothing short of a nightmare, boasting a high accident rate and some of the worst traffic levels in the area, a reputation that has stuck over the years, and despite efforts to improve things, it's been a disaster since day one. Let's go back to day one, and before there was a roundabout here, the Black Cat Junction as it was known was a simple road connection between Bedford Road and the Great North Road, or the A1 as we call it. The Black Cat name came about in the 1920s when a car servicing garage opened on the junction called Black Cat Garage with a distinctive cat-shaped logo placed outside. Since then the name has stuck, and it can be found on maps of yesteryear. The first Black Cat Roundabout appeared in 1955, where road planners added a roundabout and called it a day. In the early 1960s, the A1 was upgraded to a dual carriageway, which resulted in no changes being made to the roundabout other than the addition of some new carriageways, and that's how it stayed for decades. It wouldn't be until the mid-2000s that the Black Cat Roundabout saw the first of its poorly thought-out upgrades with the construction of the Great Barford Bypass. The Great Barford Bypass is part of the A421 dual carriageway, which was designed to connect the M1 motorway to the A1 via Bedford, and the Great Barford section was the final piece in a puzzle connecting to the A1 at the Black Cat Roundabout. Of course, it was expected that traffic levels would increase, and in preparation for this they made the roundabout slightly larger, and it was at this point that the now iconic Black Cat silhouette statue was installed on the roundabout, copied from the original Black Cat Garage's sign. So the traffic did increase, massively, more so than they predicted, and the Black Cat Roundabout became a proper shit show during rush hour, gaining a reputation for being the most dangerous junction on the A1. The main problem is that to the north and south we find the A1M motorway, and to the west runs the A421 connecting to the M1 motorway. It doesn't take a genius to work out that all of these motorways are feeding excess traffic onto a tiny road and roundabout that was mostly built in the 1960s. Furthermore, traffic looking to access the A428 at Y Boston has to go through the roundabout, and it's of course the same in the reverse direction, so no wonder it's a complete mess. National Highways, or the Highways Agency, Highways England, whatever they were known as back then, realised their mistake in connecting the A421 to the Black Cat Roundabout without taking any other steps to optimise the traffic flow, and accordingly a new plan was devised to sort out the Black Cat Roundabout once and for all. Nearly £6 million was spent on an extravagant roundabout remodelling. Here's a before and after. Nearly £6 million was spent on making the roundabout slightly larger, more dangerous and more inconvenient with the addition of traffic lights. It solved nothing. During the planning phases of this £6 million project, several options were drawn up for the Black Cat Roundabout, and one of those options was to get rid of the roundabout and replace it with a grade-separated junction, allowing traffic to bypass the roundabout altogether. Everyone said, that's a great idea, do that, so they didn't, opting for the cheapest option, giving us a crap junction. Pretty much what they did before with the addition of the A421, and the time before that with the A1 upgrades. They said that such a large junction would have a negative impact on the local businesses and thus wasn't a desired option. The upgrades were completed by 2015, and by all accounts the roundabout was still a shit show during rush hour, and at the risk of repeating myself, 4 years later in 2019, National Highways realised their mistake in not upgrading the roundabout to suit modern traffic levels and devised a new plan to sort out the Black Cat Roundabout once and for all. Unlike before, this plan actually is extravagant, involving the construction of a brand new 10-mile long dual carriageway that will link the Black Cat Roundabout to the Caxton Gibbet Roundabout. When it's finished, it'll replace the only non-dual carriageway section of the A428, and with several new residential developments being built along the route, that makes a lot of sense. As for the Black Cat Roundabout, it'll be rebuilt to a point where it's no longer recognisable. The A1 will be built into a cutting to run underneath the new interchange, with the A421 heading across via a flyover. Happy days, if you no longer want or need to use the Black Cat Roundabout, you'll be able to avoid it altogether. To further help with traffic flow, a free-flowing slip road is to be added between the A421 and the A1 North, but before things can get better, things need to get worse. A whole lot worse. Let's be honest, during the construction of all of this, the traffic in the area is going to become far worse than it was before, and with the project already facing delays, it's not going to be completed until at least 2027, meaning we've got at least 4 years of mayhem, but in the end it'll all be good. Or will it? Remember earlier where the road planners decided not to build a large junction due to the negative impact it would have on the local businesses? This time around, that's all been ignored. Accordingly, the Travelodge Hotel that sits on the site of the former Black Cat Garage has closed and is facing demolition, and it won't be long before the petrol station next door sees a similar fate, with no plans to replace any of it, so maybe it won't be good for everyone. I also suspect we might run into a bit of a problem down the line. The intention is to add a free-flowing slip road connecting the A421 to the A1 North. Fair enough, that's great. But what about the other side? There don't seem to be any plans in place for an A421 to A1 South free-flowing slip road or vice versa, so traffic heading in that direction is going to be forced to use the roundabout. My prediction is that on that side of the roundabout, traffic will back up just as bad as it did before. I reckon we need free free-flowing slip roads on all sides, but what do I know? I guess we'll have to wait until 2027 to find out. But more importantly than that, the Black Cat silhouette statue will be removed during the construction process and stored safely until such a time that it can be reinstated at the new interchange. National Highways will be looking after the cat, and if anything happens to it whilst you've got it, you're going to end up in big trouble, mister. Thanks for watching.